have BPD, PTSD, or other similar conditions, I think it's so important to know who around you is toxic, overly negative, and has a negative influence over you in really any sense. It can be related to family, friends, etc. The amount of impact others have on us consciously and unconsciously is almost indescribable. It penetrates the depths of our soul, our being, and venerates us, feeling like it tears apart our identity. Parts of ourselves that are more vulnerable and impressionable can easily be led astray. For me, only in hindsight, when I've spent an extended period of time with certain people, even if they aren't overtly rude to me face to face, and they are so negative about themselves, about life, harboring so much inner hatred towards others, everything. This toxic way of being and viewing oneself and life really rubs off onto me, unfortunately. I found myself slipping back into a state of depression with certain negative voices kind of being reawoken, or at least getting louder than the more positive voices and positive self-talk that I've built. Feeling like I have to mask myself and hide away and stifle parts of myself that I feel like I haven't had to do in years. And this is all unconscious. I didn't realize that these things were actually happening while they were happening because obviously I'm so immersed into it. I didn't realize I was doing those things and masking so heavily until I had some hindsight, as it's always 2020, and now it's so clear and obvious to me, and I can totally see the connections and patterns. And with having BPD and honestly just being so sensitive, it can be very hard for me to really just stay in that observation mode and not absorb. To observe or absorb, that is the question. It usually should always be observe, but it can be very, very difficult to not absorb. It still deeply impacts me and my mental state, triggering splits, flashbacks, negative coping mechanisms, the negative voices and thoughts coming back more strongly. This overall experience reminded me that I genuinely cannot be around others who possess traits like this for long periods of time, extended periods of time, if at all, because of the great impact it has on my mental state and where it brings me. Especially those who harbor such inner and outer hatred, displaying toxic coping mechanisms with absolutely no boundaries, and never being able to take no at face value. And I realized instead of trying to get them to hear me saying no or any of my responses at all, you truly cannot make people hear you or listen to you or understand boundaries that have no concept of it for themselves. I simply have to remove myself because it's genuinely like talking to a wall. A wall doesn't hear you, a wall doesn't respond to what you're saying. They're like that wall. You can't make people see you or hear you, but you can choose to remove yourself and choose to be in environments surrounded with people who do. And you don't have to make it a big deal or fight and claw a way to be heard. You just simply are. And getting back to a baseline of neutrality and to neutralize those voices and this state of being after being around certain people takes time, effort, patience, and compassion to bring yourself back down to a baseline. It's no joke when it comes to those around you who can influence you. Their way of thinking, your mind, who you are. Your mind is the ultimate control system. And if others get too involved and we absorb what they're putting out, we are no longer, or feel we are no longer, in the driver's seat, causing a potential breakdown or a potential of multitude of symptoms reemerging. I hope this was helpful and a helpful reminder, as it was a reminder that I needed to.